So I'm extremely pleased to have Anthony Demaria here in this particular case because about 3 years ago, Anthony and I decided that with SoundPure's new facility and new studio, we had to have one of his Fairchild 670s. And so finally, because the amount of work that goes into these things, both tracking down the parts and ultimately putting them together, we're able to take delivery of one today. It's a really special day for us because well, a lot of people consider the Fairchild 670 the ultimate holy grail of compressors, basically the best compressor ever built. And some people even consider it the best piece of audio processing equipment ever made. What's interesting to me about the whole thing, though, is that until no one was crazy enough to try and replicate one. So I guess my question for you is, what made you decide to take on the beast?
Well, a lot of clients that owned originals came to me and they said, you know, we need someone to look at our unit, or we need some tech work done. So in all the years that I had worked on them, they'd always kind of joked with me and said, hey, you know, if you make one, we'll most likely buy it from you. And that's what started happening. I just made that decision to go and get a unit and reverse engineer it, and started to put it together.
How long did it take?
It was 5 years to reverse engineer one unit. Yeah, I had to methodically take out one transformer at a time and design transformers one at a time, put them back in, listen to them, make sure that they sounded great and they were functionally what I wanted, because based on the old unit, they were very hard to work on. Where my unit, I addressed two main issues. One is the heat, and the other one is serviceability, because I want to be able to make sure that just about anyone can work on it.
So what issue about the heat in particular was a problem?
Well, one was that one of the transformers that operates one set of tubes is really underpowered.
In the original?
In the original, and it causes a lot of heat and also causes quite a bit of distortion. Where this unit, what I did was I designed a all-discrete power supply, and once again made it overly designed so that it wouldn't create too much heat. But then again, I added some fans that would take care of the heat that was produced by the tubes, because, as you know, there are 16 tubes in this unit, along with 8 transformers. So it's a beast. It's a beast.
Somebody was in the studio earlier today scoping things out here for a session coming up, and we told him that you were going to be bringing the unit by today, and he was telling us this story about how he was in session, and they had this $30,000 vintage Fairchild that was kind of like, people were afraid to touch it because it was so fragile, but it was always up and running. And one of the studio interns, at the end of the session, turned it off, not knowing that it was a problem.
Yeah.
And so the next morning everyone got there, and everyone was freaking out that the unit had been turned off. Which, you know, if you're in the middle of session, I understand, you know, things take, you know, a little time to heat up. And what this guy explained to me was that they needed a solid 12 to 14 hours for the unit to totally, I guess, heat up and regulate itself. Is that the kind of problem that even the rebuilds have?
No, absolutely not. This unit takes about 20 minutes to warm up.
Amazing.
But nothing's changed. What has changed is a much more efficient power supply, which the old supply had a lot of saturation to it and produced a lot of heat and needed a lot of time to stabilize, where this can stabilize fairly quickly.
Have you ever worked on or made this, I mean, it's sort of like really an upgrade. It's a logical upgrade that's going to clean up the signal path and provide more efficient power, but have you ever made this change to anyone's original Fairchild?
Yes, I have, actually. Someone had approached me, a client had approached me, basically complaining of the typical noise, the 60 cycle hum that you would hear. What we decided to do was basically hotwire an original unit with one of my new power supplies. So I went in and methodically just disabled his power supply and added my supply in, and we didn't harm the unit cosmetically. We made sure we
Yeah.
addressed that issue. While I was working on his unit, I offered to leave one of my units with him. And at the end of the repair, he was so impressed with my unit. Now, he had an original, but he liked mine as well, so he was really happy with everything.
He kept both.
And he kept both, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess there's no no better proof than somebody who has an original Fairchild
Exactly.
keeping yours as well.
Exactly, yeah. And the other part of it is, too, that a lot of original owners have been contacting me, and if they're in need of parts like transformers and what have you, they're coming to me because all of my transformers are interchangeable with the original unit. Our lab, our philosophy has always been to maintain and carry forward the design that was originally conceptualized, and making sure that everything stays authentic regardless of price.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, when I told them that I was going to spend $19,000 on a single compressor, they just sort of like laughed in a way in my face. I mean, having heard one of these in one of the studios that you delivered one to, I don't know, I knew that I actually had to have one. But of course, the thought that crosses your mind is, well, maybe I should get an original. Maybe that does make sense, despite all their problems, despite all their issues. And I felt like we couldn't have one in here, and trust that it would be maintenance free, and that it would continue working the way a brand new, methodically, precisely made replica would be.
Absolutely. What you're getting here, the value of this is you're getting it's serviceable, it's warranted, and it's consistent from unit to unit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we can just open this up, but I mean, the
Sure.
workmanship in here is like, you've done just an absolutely extraordinary job, and I guess it's relevant that you've done every single thing in here yourself.
Well, we like to take our time to make sure that everything works out and everything is great, and we rather have you wait a little bit longer, and rather than deliver something that's
Well, I understand, and these aren't exactly some of these switches and knobs aren't exactly off the shelf parts. Where do you come across these things?
These are parts that some of the manufacturers of the switches were the same manufacturers of the switches of the original, and any parts that I couldn't, I had to have designed and machined from scratch, just so
I
that.
bet that was cheap.
Yeah. Well, that's the value. That's the value. It's like
I mean, that's why no one's gone after this thing. I mean, I guess that's what it
takes
to get right.
Yeah, it just takes incredible. You have to be. In my book, I'm gonna try to make it authentic from what it was, and I think that there's less explaining to clients, because I'm not here to reinterpret a great signal chain. I'm here to bring it forward. So that's that's what we did here, and as you can see, it's a winner.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, Tom.
Really, really happy to have it.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.